Milford, you're watching News 12 Connecticut.
As local news gets.
That is a promo for my friend Robert Fiore. I affectionately call him Bobby, the Connecticut epilepsy advocate, a tireless supporter of epilepsy support in Connecticut. That's actually a redundant statement, but Bob is redundantly supporting everything in the finest sense of the word. This is a man who has dedicated his life to helping people with epilepsy and finding a better way for them to live. As I had explained in the intro, my dad had epilepsy, so when I met Bob and I are both from Stamford, Connecticut, same high school year, different schools. We didn't know each other until a few years ago. We quickly became fast friends, and one of the finest and most dedicated individuals that I know, and I'm always pleased to have him on this show, or whatever show I'm doing. And Bob, it's great to be with you tonight.
Oh, my pleasure, Tony, as always. My on.
And we get new people all the time. And can you give a little bit of a, shall we say, an intro or a capsule summary as to how you started with really starting your own charity, the Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate?
Sure. The Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate, many of you know, is a recognized 501c3. We serve the entire state of Connecticut. We just started our 6th year. We're coming in our 7th year. Sorry about that. But anyway, was encouraged by my wife to do this, and which is great. The thing is, as you have mentioned many times, we have a completely different point of view. We have a different way of looking at things, and we don't look at what things in a common way. We have a different way of addressing it.
And this is something you started because you were involved with charities in the past, not to mention their names, and you weren't particularly pleased, from what I understand, for what you were seeing, and you had a vision of doing this an entirely different way.
Right. Again, we're completely unconventional. We don't walk around like a repetitive statement. And so with the encouragement of my wife, where she just turned around on one day and said, "Why don't you start your own organization?" And I go, "You serious?" She goes, "Of course, why not?" And the rest is history.
And, we have you on News 12, we have you here, we see you on the other broadcast networks, and every time I see you, you're a reminder to me of what perseverance can do. A couple of years ago, you had approached me when we were doing the morning show, and you said to me, "I'm taking this in another direction. This is something," and this is the conversation you had with me, Bob, as best as I recall. "I'm taking this in another direction that some people might be angry with, and some people may not like, but I know I have to do it." And it leads us to what we're going to be discussing tonight concerning the whole issue with Charlotte's Web, the cannabis oil. And can you give us a little background on that, and what got you interested in that, and what you have done in respect to that and to the people whom you believe need it?
Sure. I heard about Charlotte's Web about 3 years ago, and I did everything from read God knows how many articles, saw the videos on CNN, weed too, cannabis bad this. I've gotten into NYU Langone, where they have an epilepsy center that's 101% focused on epilepsy. And listened to speakers, spoke with doctors, the whole gamut. And I just felt that based upon the people I know, the professionals I know, the articles I read, and so on, this constant research, this constant interaction, speaking to people down in Texas, Florida, Maryland, Virginia, New York, we're on the same page. And we're at the point in our lives, not myself, but these others that, suffer from severe forms of epilepsy, like LGS, Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, Dravet syndrome, and some just regular epilepsy, but it's extremely harmful to them. We should look into this. And again, all that research we did, we found out, you know what? This is a viable option. For everyone? Absolutely not. It's not for everybody. But if you're in that number of people, and regardless of the fact how small the number is, and you need it, then why not? However, there's a catch. Charlotte 101%. However, unless you become a resident of the state of Colorado, and then you get a prescription approved by 2 separate doctors, that's when you can receive it. The thing that we're extremely adamant about is, number one, you should not have to be a resident of Colorado. And number two, there's this constant comparison. They keep saying medical marijuana, and we want to get rid of that wording. It's completely wrong. It's a turnoff. It's a misconception. We're talking about Charlotte's Web. Yes, there's cannabis oil throughout Connecticut. There's 6 medical marijuana dispensaries. There goes that wording again. And all 6 have cannabis oil, not the true Charlotte's Web. So Tony, you're like, well, Bob, what's the difference? I'll answer that for you. The difference is when you check with them, I checked with all 6, and the highest THC level was 167, and the lowest THC level was 1.5. Nowhere is that near 0.3%. This is a black and white issue. When you go to your doctor, he doesn't say, here's a prescription, take it. He's going to tell you, here's this prescription, it's so many milligrams, take it 2, 3, 4 times a day, whatever. But he just can't say, here's a prescription, take it. You go to your mechanic, and he says, your vehicle needs a fluid. Which one? Hey, it doesn't matter, it needs a fluid. Now, as crazy as that might sound, it's not. You need to know specifically what you need and specifically what it's being used for. And that's why, again, this wording of medical marijuana has to be wiped out when it comes to epilepsy. We're looking for people to use cannabis oil, but especially Charlotte's Web for epilepsy. It's a black and white issue. Either it's Charlotte's Web or nothing at all.
Now, if I understand correctly from what you've told me, from what I read, the benefit of Charlotte's Web is one who takes it has greatly reduced occurrences of seizures. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct. The reason it was called Charlotte's Web, Charlotte Figi was named after her. When they put this compound together, the parents tried it. They put 2 drops in her mouth, and she went from 1,200, that's 1,200 seizures a month. She's down to 1 or 2, if that much. There's a friend in Virginia, the daughter has it. She went from 600 seizures a month down to about 300 or less. So tell me, Tony, or anybody listening, if it had such a positive effect on your kid, wouldn't you want it?
Put it this way. I mean, you talk to me, and, I might be distinctly in the minority, but if I were in a situation where medical science, so-called, could give me no hope, and you walked in and you said, Tony, you've trusted me all your life, and I'm telling you, if you drink this motor oil, it's going to make you feel better. Bob, I'm drinking the motor oil. Yeah. That's me, because what do I have to lose? That I've always operated in that term, or in that frame of mind. What did Billy Preston used to sing? Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. It's absolutely true. And I mean, I guess I asked the question that if someone is having 1,200 seizures a month and knowing what a seizure is, not you, my dear friend, who's experienced them, but knowing what the toll it takes on a body, it's like, why not? I mean, that's just how I look at it. But obviously, there's resistance in the state, and I have many thoughts, but since you've been doing this endeavor and you've been propounding this for 2 years, I want to get your thoughts on it. Why is this just so darn difficult to get passed through the legislature?
Because there's such an antiquated way of thinking regarding this. And again, it's Weed and Weed 2 Cannabis Madness. They're both lengthy interviews. They're both 1 hour long, but trust me, it's worth listening to. And when you listen to them, they bring up how antiquated these laws are. They go back to the mid-1930s. Mm-hmm. Things have changed. people have to just realize what a positive thing Charlotte's Web for epilepsy is. But there's so many people that are closed-minded. They don't want to look into it any further. It's a black and white thing where they're not interested. And there's another irony. I never brought this up in an interview, but you know what? I have to. When we put this bill in for the first time, we tried 3 years ago, but it went in a tad late. So be it. But we kept after it. When it went in last year, it was announced. All of a sudden, another epilepsy organization is being contacted left and right. And they didn't have a clue what it was. So I was begged to speak on their behalf, and I'm sorry. I says, we're a small group of people here. We just have a handful of board members. Yours truly runs the show. And if I can take 3 years of my time and do research and speak to people and everything that I mentioned before, then why can't this large organization do it for themselves? It's that simple. Once the bill proposal came up from us, there were at least 4 others. Some put them in just for kicks, but ours is not for kicks, it's for real. And I submitted the same bill proposal earlier this year. We changed the title so we know it's specifically for Charlotte's Web to be shipped to Connecticut for people living with epilepsy. To me, it's that simple to understand. And I'm sure you saw what I posted on Facebook, Kim Hearn.
Exactly. I was reading that with interest.
Yeah. And I hope we'll be speaking to her this evening. Is that correct?
Yeah. Is she available to be spoken to?
Absolutely.
Okay. What we've got it programmed. Actually, I have you on between now and 7:25. Then we get into some retromercials. Are you able to conference her from where you're at?
That I couldn't do right now.
Okay, maybe what we can do is get Kim on at another time. We've got a show every 2 weeks, so I'm not too concerned about having her on if she's willing to come.
Yeah, but it would be good if you could get to speak to her a little later. But regardless, the thing is, if you go to Fox 61 and there's a section there for Mommy Minute, and it shows the title is Fighting Epilepsy, Could Children Be Giving Controversial Cannabis Oil? Now this reporter, she and I have done interviews before, and she walked into the woman's house with a handful of paperwork, and she said how interesting this is. Now she put her heart and soul into this to do so much research. God knows how many weeks she put into it, and even afterwards, more and more and more. So she took the time, she had the tenacity, and looked into this and composed a fabulous interview. Like they say, Mommy Minute, just 1 minute long. But boy, oh boy, did it open the eyes of so many.
Now, if I can take you back to where we were, you had mentioned 4 bills being submitted. Is this all in Connecticut?
Yeah, and of course, since the 2015 session had ended, everything there is dead. That's why we resubmitted within 48 hours. I'm like, okay, we're not going to take a chance. So within 48 hours, but the present bill proposal was submitted, and it's just a matter of time before all these bills get brought up.
Now, are they similar to yours, or are there differences?
Oh, there are small differences, but again, we're very adamant. We have to stop using that terminology because it gives the wrong distinction, the wrong impression, and people have to get away from that terminology. It's not medical marijuana. Yes, I know it's made from marijuana leaves, but they have to understand it's cannabis oil, and the specific make of cannabis oil for epilepsy is Charlotte's Web.
Now, and this is me, we come from the same place, Stamford, Connecticut, and you start to look at something that's not happening. Of course, what your first thought is, okay, where's the fix? And I'm sitting here wondering, to your knowledge, are there any, shall we say, pharmaceutical companies, organized bodies of medical professionals, or people who might have their livelihood or their profitability threatened if this were to become useful by or used by normal people, where perhaps there is another drug which is highly profitable to some pharmaceutical concern that would not be used anymore, and that's perhaps where you're getting opposition? But again, you know, I'm cynical.
No, the pharmaceutical representatives that I've spoken to in the last year and a half, they make it abundantly clear. Like anything else, they want a multitude of years of research. I understand that. I totally understand and respect that. But by the same token, there's, I guess it's 3 pharmaceutical companies here in America. There's independent universities doing the research. There's 3 other countries that are doing the research. And they're all putting, the ones that are manufacturing it are virtually identical to Charlotte's Web. But like anything else, they want that repetitive testing, and I don't blame them. But in the meantime, if you're in such a situation like Kim and her son,
that's right,
and thousands of other kids that need this, you can't wait. And I don't blame them. And God forbid, if my epilepsy was so bad, trust me, I would go through the process. Somebody put me on a plane to Colorado. I would go through the process, become a resident, get the paperwork done, do it completely legally. But I want this to be resolved.
I'm with you. When you have nowhere to turn, why not? You know, what do you have to lose? I mean, it's so sad. How exactly, and believe it or not, we're coming up on our closing minutes, how exactly are you approaching this with the legislature? Do you have friendly legislators who are pushing this for you? Is there a different strategy you might try this year? You tell us.
Well, the thing is, the majority of the people, when this bill was submitted, I understand because it was so repetitive from others, they looked into it, and the majority was quite friendly. However, there's this one legislator, it's State Senator Tony Boucher of, I believe she serves the Westport area.
Well, yeah, Westport Wilton, I believe.
Right, thank you. And she is completely opposed to it. And we're trying to make her understand that we're not seeking to get children high, because it's virtually impossible with Charlotte's Web. You can't do it. You know, Charlotte's Web has been deemed hippie's disappointment because you can't get high. But for some reason, she doesn't want to understand this. And she's been redundant. July 5th, 2015, Hartford Current article. Saturday, April 4th, 2015, Connecticut Post article. March 13th, 2015, Hartford Current article. She keeps repeating the same thing over and over and over, where she doesn't want this to have an ill effect on children, doesn't want to see them, you know, get high. So I'm at the point where I will be contacting her, and I'd like to do a one-on-one in front of the media, and let's see what happens. I really love.
Well, Bobby, I'll tell you what. If you've got her, we can have a one-on-one right on this show.
I'll see what we can do.
You and her, either live or by phone. And I mean, you know, if you've got to go Killer Kowalski on this thing, you know, or Ernie Ladd or whatever you want to do, I'm here for you.
I appreciate that.
No, my pleasure. If I won't stick up for you and you won't stick up with me, nobody's sticking up for either one of us. No, but seriously, I would be more than happy to do that.
That's great. I appreciate it. Like I say, we're in the process. I will be forwarding things, and trust me, you will hear about it.
Well, thank you.
But I just can't wait for you to speak to Kim directly.
Well, you know something? Tomorrow we can make plans for our next show, which I believe is, Mike, December 8th. And Mike puts his thumb up. Thank you. And we can get Kim on, and would like very much for you to continue this crusade over these airways.
Okay. Like I said, in fairness, you should speak to her first on December 8th. And then as things grow at our end, then we'll keep you and your large audience updated. How's that?
Yeah, we, believe me, we're drawing them in from all over. I've got a mad following in San Francisco and Alameda, which I don't even know these people, but they're like huge fans of what we're doing, I'll tell you. Andy Warhol was right. I just hope I have a long 15 minutes. Bob, we're out of time once again. Where can our friends and fans reach you, my friend?
The best place to find us is on Facebook under Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate, or the second Facebook page, Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate Inc. And if you want to do a little quicker, just go to Robert A. Fiore on Facebook and send a message, join us. And the website, as you know, Tony, but I'll tell them, ct-ea.org. Again, that's ct-ea.org. And in closing, just Google CT Epilepsy Advocate, and you'll find the website, you'll find YouTube, you'll find newspaper articles. It's all there.
Bob, that's fantastic, and you are living out every definition of the word Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate. My best to you and best to family. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you, my paisan. All the best to you and yours, and you just stay well, enjoy it. Stop the bone.
Okay, same here. Take care, pal. And